Welcome to the Log Jam, ladies and gentlemen. It is season 6. This is episode 3. How we doing, Darren?
Doing wonderful, man. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy about that Cards win. I'm happy about the NFL schedule, all the craziness in the league. It's a good time.
Yeah. Side note, Diamondbacks are going to probably clinch a little wild card action, so I know we don't talk about other things, but we're slipping it in there.
We are. Baseball is in the thick of things. I think the M's got to walk off homer to stay alive. A lot of things happening across the league and all sports.
Yeah, but let's get back to football. It's week 4 and the 2023 NFL season, and it's week, season 15 in the LOG?
Maybe season 16?
I think it might be season 16. We've been doing this. Wow, guys. Congratulations.
We'll maybe have Mike look at that. Let us know in the break what season it is. I think we got to get started. We got to get to card stock.
Oh, man. How was your Sunday?
Awesome.
I mean, I had an amazing Sunday. Got together with kin and folk and watched some football and just literally stared there and, of course, expected, the collapse at halftime, right? Like the Giants game. Of course, expected failure, because you're a Cardinal fan. So that's what
I love that you bet on the Cardinals before the game, cashed it in at halftime. That's how sure you were the collapse was coming.
Yep.
I will note one thing you mentioned before the game, that if we end up 1-16, we get the picks we're looking for, the collapse for Caleb happens. I just want to get one, and I want it to be this one you said.
Yep.
I told you that would be physically impossible.
And it probably would be. Vegas thought it would be.
I thought it would be.
And most of all of us thought it would be, right? But there was some variables that happened. And I think one of those big variables was the loss of Trevon Diggs on the Dallas defense.
It felt a little Rocky 3-ish. And
Yeah.
you kind of figured out maybe we can hang with these guys.
You ain't so bad, Chloe. You ain't so bad.
Got in there. The more the game ended, the more you thought, here it comes, and it never did. This team was fun to watch do it.
It is. Their effort is fun to watch. The cohesiveness is fun to watch. The play calling is enjoyable again, for the most part, right? For the most part.
Sure. Had maybe some trepidation about taking the points off the board and maybe cardinaling.
We talked about that when we were watching the game. It's that old rule: never take the points off the board. Then all of a sudden we get a penalty, we get pushed back. We got to, it worked out.
It got a little dicey there for a while. Ends up longest career field goal. So cool things happening all around. It's just fun to beat the Cowboys. Have been doing it a lot recently. 7-1 over the last 8 games over, we believe, the last 14 years. That feels good.
If again, we talk baseball, who do you want to beat? Probably the Yankees and Dodgers. And in football or in sports in general, for me, I want to beat the Cowboys. It's a great win. For those of you who haven't lived in the state of Arizona that long, or who maybe most of you have, I'm sure, but if you don't know why there's a rivalry, it's because there wasn't an Arizona football team here until 1998. Well, people still had televisions and enjoyed the NFL, so what teams are they going to watch, right? Your closest in proximity was the San Diego Chargers.
But you had been in the division in the East in St. Louis. You remained in the NFC East
and
for the first few years in Arizona.
What they showed on your televisions every time was the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So they became Cowboy fans here. So
lots of Cowboy fans, I think, at the game, if you probably felt that there was a large contingent of Cowboys, felt good to send them home losers.
I know Corey brought one with him. Corey brought a kid named Brian Hummel with his group, and the only Cowboy fan in the group, and he wore it. So good work, Corey.
That is a fun team to watch. Kaiser White showing up in the middle, showing some leadership. I think that Trayvon Diggs loss was big for sure.
Well, Micah Parsons still had a great game, right? But it's the back end. It's the back end of their defense. Parsons got pressure. Dobbs avoided played well, but the back end of their defense seemed scrambled. Seemed like we had some big plays. We ran the ball great, right?
Yeah. We ran the ball great. Not only this game, we've been running all year. I think they said the second best yards per run in the NFL behind the Dolphins.
Second best stat, number 1 as far as most 20-plus yard runs. Would you have expected that out of the 2023 Arizona Cardinals?
I would not.
Yeah, it's good to see, man. All around, I expected this to be a little bit of a different watching experience, and it's really been enjoyable. So thank you, Jonathan Gannon. You know what else? The 2 new hires, the offensive and defensive coordinators. The play calling looks pretty damn good.
It has been fantastic. It's been fun to watch a team compete and play well together and do NFL type things instead of idiot type things. So fun to watch. Speaking of idiots, the two of us faced off starting the week. It ended up being the game of the week with the Pimps unfortunately taking care of the Avengers 129-117.
Well, I believe you called this last week in our predictions.
I did. I felt like this was going to happen, and it did.
It was just probably a week for the Avengers. They're exhausted. It's the third week of the season. They've spent a lot of time kicking ass, and
we're 1-2, but
yeah, fair enough.
A backhanded compliment there.
Well, Justin Jefferson still got you. There's some things, but.
There were some points that were scored by the Avengers. We got to 117, which isn't that good of a number, but held the lead going into Monday night. Had a 31-point lead with Swift and A.J. Brown to go. It felt even all Monday like, man, that's not going to be enough. But stranger things have happened. The first drive, I think they combined for 12 or 14 points. From that point, it kind of chuck. And by the middle of the third quarter, they had taken over in tandem.
You got to be impressed with Philly's offense right now, right? Like if you had to rate teams in the league, and just ask them, I know this is a side, but if you had to rate, give me the top three, because I'll give you, while you're thinking, I'll give you mine. I got the Eagles right now number 1. I have the Dolphins number 2.
I'm probably up there with the 49ers. I might have said Dallas going into it, but I think that Niners offense is great. I think their defense is fantastic. I like both those offenses.
But is that when we go play an AFC team like the Chiefs or
sure, yeah.
There's just so many good teams out there, but it seems like the Dolphins and their teams starting to separate themselves. Is all I'm saying. Billy owns most of them.
he does. This game, the running backs were important. The Pimp running backs combined for 39. Avengers started 3 running backs and got 22 points total. That swing was enough to turn things around. I think the real story on the Avengers side, you get the points from where you're expecting them. The Dallas defense, however, puts up a dud against the Cardinals minus 5. Even if they get a 6, a 7, something pedestrian, the Avengers win this game.
Yeah, yep. You just said it. Even if you were to play any other defense, you would probably win this game. I'm guessing. But you know what? It's not like you're going to pull them from rotation. Dallas defense will figure it out. They'll be fine moving forward. So will you.
Yeah, I don't know. Saquon out, Kupp out, some big holes to fill, and not a lot of performance from the guys that were trying to fill those holes, and nothing really behind them on the bench. This team feels thin.
Well, how thin?
Thin. All right, in the next matchup.
Thinner than what?
Merci gets the 143, a big number against the Sin 109.
143, that's probably Mercy's highest point total this year. I'm sure this year, but that's a solid number.
That is. It's a good number. It's well above there. Laporta with 26. Moss, a great start, getting him 26. Your kicker gets 15, and that across the board, some consistency there. And the Sin pretty much come up short across the board.
Yeah, the Sin probably started the wrong quarterback. The Sin, but because you saw the points left on the Sin's bench, right?
Yeah. Sins, Gallup, Dobbs all outscored the receivers that were in front of them in the starting lineup. Kind of an unfortunate thing that has been happening a little bit to the Sin.
Yeah, but what are you going to sit DeAndre Hopkins? I guess it's just a name, and at some point you do. But week 3, I'm not sitting DeAndre Hopkins for Dobbs.
Yeah,
not going to do it.
I don't think you'd start. I think you make the right starts. Anyone would have done the same thing.
Yep.
You come up short. You score 109. And you're facing a 143, you're going to lose to that a lot of times. 143, though, not quite enough to get us to high points. Young and Confused logs in at 193, taking care of Windy City Scoregasm at 125.
There you go, Young and Confused. That's a solid win, right? Get the high points of the week. Beat Gary. Gary's going to... I'm sure anytime, you beat the champ, it's got to feel good.
An undefeated champ.
An undefeated champ. Bring him back to the crowd. Thank you for that. And I think he owes, a majority of this to his decision to play Jordan Love.
Yeah, well, Jordan Love didn't look great until fourth quarter, but that fourth quarter Love shined through. Keenan Allen gets you 53 spots.
That's ridiculous. Yeah. Of course you're going to start Keenan Allen, but... The Chargers' offense hasn't been, but he's been playing great. That's incredible. 50 burger.
It is. Debo with 28. The Philly defense with 28. Windy City gets Mahomes and CMC numbers.
McCaffrey.
Little bit of disappointment from Lamb. Kyron Williams only gets you 8. And 125 should win, but not when you're facing 193.
Well, you see Gary shuffling his team too, right, with trades, and he understands. He understands he can't rely on the M&M connection of Mahomes and McCaffrey every week. You know, he's got to continue to build his bench and get better. And the guy's undefeated 8 days ago, or whatever it was. So great win. You know, appreciate you, Young and Confused, for bringing him back to the crowd. Congratulations on the money for High Points. That's solid.
Particularly intriguing this week, the waiver wire pickup. Tank Bell has a big night. Gary able to find his Huckleberry, spin him off to Young and Confused for some running back talent in Rashad White. So savvy move there. We'll see which team wins out better there. 193, a great number for Young. Not enough to win him High Points, however. Poway Titans, for the first time in franchise history, get to the 200 mark. 205, taking care of the Zorros, 78.
Yeah. Anytime it's... You said first time for Billy?
First time in the 200s.
Okay. Congratulations, Billy. First time in the 200s. Welcome to the club. It's just like, there it is. So... anytime you can get to 2-0 whatever, congratulations. And I was wrong. Congratulations on the money. And who do you? Oh yeah, you said Zorro's at 78, dude. That's the lowest point total this week.
It was, and got late contributions from Hollywood Brown. I think got 17. A Pedestrian 23 from Hertz, and you find yourself barely getting over some type of low points considerations. I think he had 36 points going into Sunday night games. Only 2 players in double figures. Not a great output.
No.
On the Poway side, the Miami Dolphins, a historic night. Mostert, Tua, Hill combined for 119 points. And then Devin A-Chain, he wasn't. Oh, he was on Zorro's bench.
He was on the Zorro's bench.
57 burger on the bench. I don't know if you'd have the nuts to start A-Chain or...
I mean, imagine it. You could have lost by 80.
That could have been. It could have been, certainly. But a fantastic time from Poway. Probably looking at High Points there, I think.
Not from what I'm seeing. From what I'm seeing, Daddy has not only the High Point total this week in knocking out the Fury. We'll just talk about the score in a minute here, but in what is one of those race car driver or their sprint games or Pac-12, whatever you want. It's a high point scoring games. But I believe Daddy set a personal. I believe
franchise record and league record. The High Points for the week. Hoosier Daddy, 231 beans, takes care of a not too shabby effort from the Fury at 175.
I'm just doing quick math. But if Zorro's were to have the same output he had this week, that would be 6 weeks of scoring?
Something like that. It would take
be like half the season.
I don't know if the math is exactly right
Daddy
there, but it would be a couple of weeks.
231's crazy, guys. That's a crazy number.
4 players get to 30 burgers. Herbert, Devontae Adams, Walker, the Buffalo defense.
It's got to be everybody.
Yep, Mike Williams almost got there. He almost had 5 players in the 30s.
You got 10 players. 231.
9 players.
9.
Unfortunately, Mike Williams out for the season after that 28 burger. Maybe a blessing in disguise there. Fury, we should be talking about, in many weeks, 175 is the high score of the week. It does not take care this week. Cousins with a nice 35. Jamar Chase finally shows up with 29. Amon-Ra 23. And your kicker getting 19 in a losing effort.
Can you imagine your kicker scoring 19 points, all right? You get the output plus out of every single one of your studs. You are 0-2 in the league after, right, now all this, and you lose after scoring 100. I would be pissed. I would be pissed. I would be like, the fantasy gods have come for me.
Well, and one rationally might say to you, well, last year you got a lot of 113s, 118s,
yes,
121s that turned into victories. They got a lot of the close ones. Feels a little bit like the story you might be seeing in Minnesota, where they won a ton of close games last year, not doing it this year. So a different Fury roster for sure than we have seen in the past. Still reliant on those Bengals, and maybe they will be turning around. But the big story here, Daddy breaking league records.
Okay, before we go any further, is this it? Did Daddy win the money?
Daddy won the money.
Okay.
It was the last game.
Congratulations, Daddy, on the high point total this week, this year, this history of this league.
The history of the league. It was a record-setting week. We did take a little bit of a deep dive into some of the stats in the offseason since the history of the league, since 2008. So it is correct that the 16th year of the league. Let's talk about it. Poway scoring 205 becomes the 11th team in league history to get to the 200 mark. The 11th time.
The 11th time. That's not the 11th highest score. You're saying it's the 11th time somebody's hit 200.
In the regular season. Again, these are only regular season numbers. These
enough.
do not count any playoff numbers, any consolation bracket numbers. In the regular season, it was the 11th time in league history that a team had scored 200 points. Daddies, of course, make it the 12th time it happened. Going back, the first time it ever happened in 2010, Binter's Fury put up 204 in Week 12 of 2010 against the Hebrew Hammers.
Wow.
Come along in 2012, the Mondays did it at 207, setting a league record, taking care of Mr. Tea Time. 2013, the Cardinal Sin joined the club. They scored 203 in Week 1 in 2013. They also slaughtered Mr. Tea Time. They take care of him in 91 points in the loss there. 2014, the only year in league history prior to this year that it happened twice in 1 year. The Avengers do it in Week 8, scoring 205 over the Mondays. And the Zorros do it in Week 12, getting to 208, setting a then league record over the Fury with 65 points. So at that point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams in the league had done it. They'd all been different. The Sin, the first team to repeat in 2015. They get to 203 points that year. They beat the Avengers. 2018, the Pimps joined the club. Congratulations, Darren. 207.76. That was the first year we used those decimal numbers. They took care of the Zorros.
It's been that long.
2019, the Hebrew Hammers. May they rest in peace. 204.66 over the Zorros. The Zorros returned the favor in 2021. They do it a second time, setting the then league record 214.32 over the Avengers. And the Avengers do it for the second time in 2022 at 205.24. So a couple of two-timers there. The Sin, the Avengers, the Zorros.
You said it's been done how many times in the same year?
12
in the same year.
2014 and yesterday.
Only twice in the same year.
Only twice in the same year?
No, I'm saying in the whole year.
In the whole year.
So it happened, what, 2 times yesterday?
2 times in 1 week, and in week 3 it happened 2 times.
That's awesome.
And with a 193 to boot. So
big numbers.
Pretty impressive numbers. On the low side of those numbers, we will notice that the high scores, obviously those franchises, those are the high numbers for them. With the Zorros leading the pack up until yesterday. Daddy is the leader at 231. Zorros at 214. Windy City Scorecasm took over that franchise. So their high score technically is 207, although Gary's personal high score is 282.21.
Yeah, we're going to have to check on that.
The Sin at 203, Pimps at 207, Avengers 205. The only 2 teams not to eclipse 200 points by our math, Young and Confused at 193.04 set this week. And Merci in 2022 got 191.56. So those are the franchise high for the 10 teams. Conversely, what do you think the lowest score ever to be scored in a League of Gentlemen game is?
Ever. Well, I know 78's not it. So I would say probably, I'm going to say like something like 56.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times we've had scores below 56. The lowest 2 belong to the same franchise. Steve did it with Merci at 44.62, breaking his franchise record in season 1. The Hebrew Hammers scored 45 points. So the 2 lowest scores are there. The Windy City franchise, also 45.64. Ironically, back in the 2 years span where the Hammers owned that franchise.
Yeah,
so
the guy's a franchise.
Fingerprints are all over
franchise
this.
Killer.
The Fury also in the 40s with a 47 burger. Daddy, the Pimps, and the Sin all in the 50 spot. Daddy 52 franchise low. The Pimps 54.38.
All of those are horrible.
In fairness, when you did that in 2022, Your franchise a little before that was 84. So you are not on this list a whole bunch. You're not repetitive. But that was a nice number there. The Sin at 56, Poway 61, the Avengers 69. Nice. And the league leader, whoever we mentioned, the Zorros. 74 is the worst score in Zorro's franchise history.
That's solid.
Speaking of the Zorros, there was another thing that got us looking this week. Their margin of loss to Poway this week, 228.818 points. The second largest margin of victory in league history.
Second? Who? Okay, give it to me. Who beat anybody's ass worse than that?
In 2014, those self-same Zorros scored 208 to the Benters Furies 65. A 143-point shellacking.
Yeah, so right after you've seen the numbers that, I know Mike's running other numbers. He's trying to hand you paper here maybe, but, after looking at data, do you think, personally, it is more likely to have a 50-point or less week, or more likely to hit 200?
A slight edge 200. There's almost double the amount. By my calculations, there was 4 games under 50 and 9 total games under 60.
Okay.
I could have missed some here or there where I wasn't counting specifically for that. Some numbers did pop out. You saw the Zorros all over the top of those boards. A lot of 183s, 182s. Avengers not as much, but you saw them up there. Poway had a lot of numbers.
Poway's
90s,
gotta be
80s, 70s. There was
Bender's
a lot of
gotta
there.
be up there.
Benner has 2 kind of higher marks. He kind of there was a season there where I think he got 5 or 6 high points. Season number 1, Matt Seahawks and Your Mom's Pimp had 10 of 13 high points.
Wow.
So that was a nice number that popped out. Also, kind of, statistical things that kind of tell stories. The OBGYN Merci franchise probably scored 138 points, like within a margin of, a delta of like 3 or 4 points 40 times over the course of the year. That franchise is always between 125 or 142 or between 60 and 80. It's like
feast or famine.
Feast or famine for those guys. They get a few numbers above that. But that was a fun deep dive, man. It was fun to get in to look at some of those franchise numbers.
Well, thank you, Michael.
Going back, there was those 3 teams that did set franchise high. The Hoosier Daddy, the Poway Titans, and Young and Confused.
All in the same week.
All last week scored franchise high
You guys
numbers.
should get together in a hot tub like a bunch of New York Yankees.
Little dude stew, you know what I'm saying?
You guys can be Posada and Bernie or whatever.
All right, that gets us to next week's games. We're going to go through those games, provide a little bit of context for you, and then we'll be making picks. What we think is the game of the week is the Feral Bowl, not the FEARAL Wildcat Animal Bowl.
Yeah.
But the Ferals face off. Hoosier Daddy 2-1, traveling to Young and Confused. Hoosier Daddy is a 6-point favorite in this one.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I'll go ahead and pick first. But first of all, the crazy part about this is they're actually doing. Did you know they're doing the donation for the Pet Society or whatever at the gate? So if you go to this game, the Feral Bowl, they're obviously taking advantage of it. I love it. I'll be there. Hopefully, because it's the early game, then we'll have to travel. But there are some things that are going to happen here. Young's got to make some decisions. Daddy's got to make some decisions. Of course, this is a big game. This is probably like Ohio State, Michigan State to them in a way, right inside their little home environment. So
I'll hit on some matchups here. Really look like fantastic matchups at not only running back and quarterback, but wide receiver for Daddy going into this one. Over on the Young side,
Daddy's hot. Watch out, 231. You better watch out.
You're getting David Montgomery back from injury. Somebody might want to think about plugging into your flex spot. Bijan, Debo both look to have good matchups.
Yeah.
So could be another high scoring weekend for these two.
Yeah. And did you talk about David Montgomery coming back?
I did.
Yeah, that's the big one for me there. He's going to have to start making decisions because I watch enough Lions football to know that should be probably the bell cow this week on Thursday night, or at least get the touches near the goal line.
So, all right. So who do you like?
Oh man,
I'm gonna jump in.
I'm gonna take Daddy. We're picking against the spread. Sorry, I'm I'm still going to take Daddy -6. Still going to do it.
I'm going to take Young in the points here.
Here we go.
I've seen Daddy birdie holes and then double bogey. I don't know if that's going to happen this week, but
The hangover.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Almost exclusively.
Game number 2, Windy City Scoregasm takes a 2-1 record into Merci Beaucoup, who are 1-2. They are a 10-point favorite.
Yeah, this is an interesting game because Mercine seems to be catching a little bit of fire here for me, and last week the Scoregasm was kind of sputtered a little bit, right? And depending on them, Mahomes, I'm -10 is a big number. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. I think Gary wins this game. I will take Merci to cover. I think Gary wins. Merci covers.
I see Mahomes facing a pretty good Jets defense. CMC against the Cardinals. I don't know. Maybe we could bottle them up. Lamb maybe shut down against New England.
Did you remember watching Panther games and watch? One thing that we don't do well is linebackers cover running backs or tight ends. That's like we don't do that. So
it's new era, Darren.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey eats our lunch. Dude. I expect Christian McCaffrey to have a 40 burger.
I look at it a little bit more optimistically. I think on the Merci side, both Cook and Moss have good RB1 kind of matchups.
Yeah.
Laporta, the number 2 tight end, 14.2 points a game.
Yeah, get the kids a stud.
I'm taking Merci and the points here.
Fair enough. The next game is, this is going to sound weird, but the 0-3 Fury have to travel down to the dirty water of Mexico and face the Zorros, who are 2-1, but are boasting a 10-point advantage here, or they're giving 10 points to the Fury.
Looks like Zorros are believing in the Devin A-Chain hype. I don't know why you wouldn't. He's talented. Other than that, was he getting carries because that game was a blowout, or was he getting carries because it's going to be a split? We'll find out there.
Yeah.
Hurts versus Washington could be okay. Cincinnati facing a tough task at Tennessee. Otherwise, maybe some tough matchups there on the Fury side. It could be trouble. I think I like the Zorros giving the points.
The Zorros -10. Okay, well, you mentioned the Jalen Hurts Washington thing. I don't think we can glaze over that. Okay, so one thing they can do is in drop back situations, Washington can get after the quarterback. Their defense can cause little problems. So I could see. I just don't think it's enough, but I do think it's enough to cover. So I'm going to take the Fury.
Okay, I like it. And what is the worst matchup of the week? The San 1-2 traveling to the lowly 1-2 Avengers. The Avengers are a 9-point favorite at home, but hoping and praying for Saquon's return. I just don't think it's going to be enough.
This is a big game. You can look at it and go the 1 and whatever. This is an important game. The two teams are 1-2. It's still early, but one team's leaving this matchup 1-3, which is borderline doorstep knock desperation in this league. Okay, so you come out of here 2-2, no big whoop, right? I see this game as a big game, a tone setter, and I will take the Avengers -9. I'd take the Avengers -12.
Not so fast, my friend. Josh Jacobs with a breakout game against the Chargers. That one's going to be a track meet. I mean, and unless the Sin did something stupid like starting Aaron Jones, I don't think there's any way they can blow this one. I'm taking the Sin plus the points.
Is Jimmy Garoppolo going to play with the concussed version of Jimmy Garoppolo going to play, or is it going to be the backup and they're going to focus on the
Brian
run?
Hoyer.
Yeah, so Brian Hoyer's throwing the rock, right? If you're the Charger, you said Chargers. If you're the
And then
Chargers
Josh
defense,
Dobbs, Josh Dobbs beat the Cowboys without even batting an eye.
They're going to focus on Josh Jacobs. This is a win. This is a 12-point win for the Avengers.
I don't know about
I'm
that.
not jinxing anything. I'm just telling you how.
The game of the week, a League of Gentlemen classic. The Poway Titans take a 2-1 record out to surprise and face the Pimps, also 2-1. Poway is an 11-point favorite here.
This is the old Houston's Bowl. This is the old.
We had it as the Houston's Classic.
Yeah, the
actually.
Houston's Classic. This is the hey, it's Wednesday. I know we're getting out of our shift right now, but let me call and see if it's my color or not today. If not, I'll meet you in the Civic or the Grand Am. This is a throwback for sure. These teams respect each other. These teams are not going to play dirty. These teams are going to play hard. So Poway is due. He's a juggernaut offensively, and I'm winning games with 129. So I will take the Poway Titans minus 11. I'll take the Poway Titans minus 18.
Poway has those Miami Ballers heading into Buffalo. Feels like that game could put up some points on both sides of that ledger.
Actually,
Cleveland D with a nice look. TJ Hawkinson, I think, could be the difference maker here. Again, filling Washington, I think they're going to perform better than you think.
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder about that Russ start. Thinking about putting Russ Wilson in his starting lineup in the year 2023 of our Lord. I don't know if that's the way to go. I'm probably going to stick with Poway here, giving the points.
And not completely defending the position, but have you seen Trevor Lawrence this year as the other option, right? So Russell Wilson coming back from losing a game 183 million to 5. If you don't bounce back here, Russ, retire. Like that, I don't know. This is if you're not going to show up this week after
I mean, the same maybe could be said of Sean Payton. That's a guy that went in and talked a lot of trash about the guys that were in there before them. Something you don't typically see a coaching staff do, and he got his ass handed.
If you don't bounce back as a team and as an organization this week, it doesn't matter who's right, who's wrong. You're both
key cards on the table, fellas.
Both of you, all of you.
All right, man. That wraps up the preview of next week's games. Brings us to one of our favorite segments: emails from Mike Oxenfire at gmail.com. Logging into the email inbox today.
Oh, Mike Oxenfire.
And the email box is empty. Nothing to show. No one cared to send us an email this week, Brennan.
No, push refresh. You're on the wrong thing. Push refresh. Says last checked.
Yeah, just right now it's nothing. No.
February 17th. Really? Like, you guys, we're going to show you right here the email.
Mike Oxenfire.
Yeah.
At gmail.com.
This is a communication. I know we're not doing
combined
live
12 hours into the show every
right
week.
now. So just send an email, say, hey, can you guys talk about this? Can you guys mention this? We'd love for you to dive in further to this. I concede if you're Billy. Just send a message. I concede. There's the.
We're making note of maybe some of the favorite lines from the thread this week. I alluded to one earlier. Steve got off a great line. Josh Dobbs beating the Cowboys without even raising an eyebrow was pretty fantastic.
That's on the board for sure. I enjoyed personally Billy's comment to say, today Google turned 25. Benner's out shopping for a new search engine.
Really fantastic stuff. It has been an entertaining year as always. We hope that week 4 is fantastic for everybody. Thanks for tuning in, man. Some really cool stuff.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys as always. Thanks for watching, and good luck.
One note we missed on numbers on the way out. No team has ever had the sole best record in the league and won the Purdue Bowl. Wow. 3 teams have had the best record, tied for the best record and won, and the other 12 years has not been the best record. 4 times a 9-4 team won the trophy. 6 times a 7-6 team.
6 times.
6 times in the 15-year history of the league.
So be mediocre and you got a good shot.
Just make chip in the chair, baby. Just make the playoffs. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We will see you next week. Good luck, everybody.